big projects or small projects. And depending on the organization and what you do at that time, the project, you need to do that in a structured way, in a structured manner. So you need to know how to manage the project in a structured manner to achieve success. Um, uh, and we'll be running through this course. We run through the course under this following modules: define projects, plan projects, manage and oversee projects, and close projects. And then we see how that turns out, and then we'll go into the conclusion. By way of introduction, what is a project? What is a project? A project is said to be defined as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. It's said to be a temporary endeavor. It is something that you do is a temporary thing, it's not a permanent thing. It's not forever. A project is temporal in that it has a defined beginning and end in time. Therefore, it also means that it has a defined scope and it has resources that is part of the project. A project is unique in that it is not a routine activity, it's not a routine operation. A routine operation is something that you do like your maintenance. You have a maintenance manual, you have a maintenance circle, like you're servicing your car, you're servicing the AC. Those activities are routine activities, they're not a project. But installation of the AC itself is a project. So in the facility, you may have the opportunity to run small projects: installation of this, installation of that, purchase of this, painting of the whole facility. Again, maybe you do that painting, changing of a door that is bad, installing a new window, and all sorts and all sorts. Those things are projects. But your routine activity that you do every day, that you check every day, those are not projects. Those are operational routine activities. Project always has a start and a finish time. A project is temporal, like we said. A project is unique because you create a unique result from every project. No two projects are the same. That's why you are into manufacturing. Every product that is being produced has a batch number. Those batch numbers seem to produce and say, okay, this product produced at this time. That project, it starts and it finish. It starts and it finishes because no two projects are unique. Every project, so no two projects are the same. Every project is unique. So it gives a unique at every point in time. It has a start and it has an end. No project lasts forever. It's not like the one that you used to sing at project. That's not what we're talking about. It has a start and an end. And it has scope. Scope means the work that you need to do and the quality of what you need to deliver. That is what the scope defines. And you have stakeholders that are part of the project. The stakeholders are the ones that are involved in the project, whether directly or indirectly. You have resources, people and material resources that form part of the project or that are part of the project to see that the project is completed. Then you also know that the project must be done within an agreed budget, within an agreed budget. Planning. Five projects identifying project stakeholders. Now, for every project that you will run, you need to answer the why question. Why do you want to do this project? Why? Why is the reason? What do you want to do? You want to produce this. You want to build a house. Why are you building a house? For shelter. Where do you want to do it? Where is the location? When are you planning to do the project? And how will you do it? And who are you doing it for? What is the purpose of the project? And for who? Who are those that are going to receive the project, are going to use the project? These questions you must always before the project starts. Those are the key questions you ask at the initial time of the project when you have to start the planning of the project. The resources, the stakeholders that are part of the project, the project sponsor. The project sponsor is that person that gives the project life, that bets the project, may not necessarily be part of the project. You may just see the project sponsor at the beginning of the project, and then the next time probably you see the sponsor is at the end of the project. They don't really show up. They're just the people that start off the project, maybe the MD of the company, the person that gives the money, that gives authorization for the project to happen, the project sponsor. So you also have the receipt of the project deliverable. The receiver of the project deliverable. When you're receiving the project deliverable, it is those that are going to use it.
I can't hear you, just my network.
Sorry.
I can't hear.
We can't hear you.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Same problem we had yesterday.
I think we have been, please admit, we have been having this problem for like 3 times now. I think you guys need to work on this, your network, please.
It's a
Because
two-way
it's really affecting the flow of class, honestly.
Can be your own network at your side. And
It cannot be. Everybody seems not to be hearing.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think it's having network issue from his end.
It means that you can hear me.
It goes off and on. Sometimes.
Please just calm down, settle, and go through the class. We'll go through this. The receiver of the project deliverable. Those that receive the deliverable at the project at the end of the day. Then you also have the users of the project outcome, those that will use the product. If you produce bottled water, you may receive it, but you are not the one to drink it. So those that take the final users, those that partake or drink the bottled water, those are the users of the project deliverable. And also part of the stakeholders is the project manager and his team itself. And also you need to establish project goals and deliverables. And then also do the different tasks that is associated with the project. So different tasks that is associated with the project. Key responsibilities of the project manager. The project manager has some responsibilities that he needs to take care of and manage the life cycle of the project. One of the things that the project manager needs to do is to be able to define clear and attainable project objectives, clear and attainable project activities. Also must be able to define the project by reducing it to a set of manageable tasks. A set of manageable tasks. Your work breakdown structure comes to play where you're able to break the project into different tasks to be able to assign those tasks to different people, and must be able to communicate the project objectives to the stakeholders regularly. Must be able to procure tools, materials required for the project, and must be able to manage the project constraints. For every project has its own constraints, and one of the things that the project manager must be able to do is to manage the project constraint. Also, the project manager must be able to inform stakeholders of work progress regularly, must report to the project stakeholders regularly on the progress of work that is going on in the project. The project manager must be able to report this regularly and then be able to get them to understand what is going on in the project. Must be able to assess, monitor, and mitigate against every form of risk. Every project has risks that is associated with it, and the project manager must be able to identify these risks, must be able to also monitor the risks, and must be able to mitigate against these risks, must be able to adapt and manage change. Every project sometimes have changes that needs to be looked at. So the project manager must be able to manage the changes that are associated with the project. Must be able to determine and implement the needs of the client. Must be able to manage and implement.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Miracle.
Okay. Sir, please, can you be more audible? Your voice seems far.
My voice is not far. I'm shouting where I am.
Okay, sir.
Let me try and see if I can adjust the sound from the system. Just give me a minute.
Okay, sir.
Just hold on. I try to pop up the volume. I hope you can hear me now.
I think it's better now.
Okay. I try to pop up the volume. Okay. All right, let's continue.
Sir, please, can you turn on your video? Thank you.
If I turn on the video, the network will go bad.
Okay, sir.
The project managers have some skills that are supposed to be able to manage. One of them is conflict management. Conflict management, people management skill, leadership, and result-oriented skill must be able to resolve problems in a creative manner and must be a creative thinker. Must plan and organize, must be a good planner and an organizer. Must also be able to manage time properly, must be a good contract manager, and also have negotiation skills. These are the skills that the project manager is supposed to have. So every project manager is supposed to be able to manage each project around this level and around those circles. Project management procedures, a case for project initiation. At the point of a project, there's what we call project initiation. And during the project initiation, the purpose of the project is defined, that, and then the different options to be considered when running the project, an evaluation of an alternative method that can be used to make the project to happen, and also the possible disadvantage that is associated with the project. And then also look at the appraisal of the cost and investment project, a summary of the potential risks that is also associated with the project. Those are things that we need to consider at the initial stage of the project. A project management process, a project life cycle includes the steps required for the project manager to be able to successfully manage a project from start to finish. Generally, project is broken into 5 phases. And these 5 phases is also grouped under the project life cycle. And we have the initiating, the planning, the executing, the monitoring and control, and then the closing. These are also referred to the project process groups. The initiating process. This is when the project comes to life, where the project is vetted, and that is where most of the consideration will give the go or no go on the project. You know, after that has been settled, you know that you are going to do this project. The next phase is to go into the planning phase. That is where the project itself is being detailed out. You plan all the things that are required to have the project come to life, and all the resources that are required, everything that is required for the execution phase to happen. Once the planning phase is done, you move to execution. Once execution starts, execution, control, and monitoring work hand in hand, because at every point in time, you need to check what the project is doing and to monitor and be sure that the project is meeting to its initial objective. And the execution of the project is where the serious work activity happens, where every hand is on deck. In fact, that is when people now know that something is going on. And it is important to know that the project execution process, the project execution phase, is a very important phase. And after that is done, we'll move to what we call the project closing. Project execution. The project execution is the phase in the project life cycle when the work is performed and everything in the project plan is put into action. All the things that you have planned, comes into action during the project execution phase. The project scheduling and planning are simply the beginning. Most of the time, the work of the project is done during its execution. Therefore, the execution in project management is critically important. The execution phase in project management is where all your planning is brought to book, is where all your planning is brought into test to be sure that you have done what you need to do, and then it comes to life. During the project execution phase, there are some steps that you need to look at. The steps during project execution phase will change depending on the specific requirements of the project. Those particular steps are typically laid out in the project execution plan. However, there are general activities that should apply to all projects. That each project in itself has different way of executing it. But even as such, that there are general rules that applies to all projects. There are steps that we must go through in the project execution phase. One, you must create the project task. That activity, you must create it. After you have created all the tasks that is associated with the project, you now also put the timelines to be able, you set the timelines to be able to assign, carry out those tasks. When you have done that, you now assign tasks to teams, the different teams that will be working during the time when this task needs to be done. Then the fourth, you need to also begin to track the progress of each task, of each team that you have given the task to. As you track the project, as you track the progress of work that is going on, you begin to communicate with them to have a sync, to have a synergy between all the different teams such that they are working together. You must also be able to engage with stakeholders regularly during the time of execution so that they know what is going on and they are abreast of the activities that is going on during the project execution. And while that is going, you must be able to schedule changes where it is required. When the client wants something to change, when things need to change, you must be able to schedule it and see how that works. That's where stakeholders management is very key. And the change management system must be set in place by you, the project manager. The project execution phase activities include beginning the work itself, then manage the workflow for all the project tasks, all the tasks that you have checked out on the project. You need to manage the flow of the work tasks such that you understand where one starts and where one finishes, and where two tasks meet up with each other, how to see how to resolve the issue. Must be able to look at how to manage all the risks during the time of project execution, because there's always risks associated with the project. You have the issue management that must come up, and then you know how to manage the issue, manage change orders. When there are changes either by the client or by the contractor or the vendors, you know how to manage the changes and then communicate accordingly. Manage the project communication with all stakeholders, verify when milestones have been reached, conduct gateway reviews as required, and report on project status regularly to stakeholders. Reporting is one of the key tools of the project manager. So you must learn to report every time as the project progresses. Project triangle. There's what we call the triple constraint, and this is what we call the project triangle. Used for analyzing difficulties during project execution. It is used to illustrate the project success, also used to analyze the project goals. Used to illustrate the relationship between scope, time, cost, and quality. Now, when a project has come to life, once a contract has been signed, all parties have agreed. They agree to the scope, they agree to the timeline, and they agree to a particular cost. And then all this together, they agree to a particular quality to be delivered. Once that is done, it forms the project triangle, what we call the triple constraint, where these three key elements are what determines how the project quality comes out. As the project is signed off, it goes into what we call an equilateral triangle. And that triangle means that each side are equal. Each part, the scope, the time, and the scope, the scope, the time, and the cost carries equal weight. That is important in the project. So if anyone moves, it's going to affect the quality and it's going to affect the project. If you shorten the timeline, it will affect cost, it will affect quality, it may also affect scope. If you increase or reduce the scope, it will affect the time, it will affect the cost, and it will also affect quality of delivery, depending on how the impact is. So it's very important for you to always watch out. Once you are running a project, not to be quick to accept any changes without going through the project constraints or giving commitment. Oh, they say, this we are supposed to tile a particular hall of, let's say, 120 square meters. And the client comes and says, oh, we like this tile. Can you increase the tile to the other areas to make it like 150 square meters within the same cost? Of course, you know that's not going to work because the cost, you need to buy more materials. And I say, can you finish around the same time? You look at it and see that it's likely going to be impossible to finish it about the same time, except you go through your project constraints to see how you can manage, mix and match and see if it's possible. But do not be in a hurry to give an answer at that time. You must always go back to the triple constraint to see how the change in scope impacts time and impacts cost, or how the change in time impacts the cost and impacts the scope, and how the change in cost impacts time and impacts scope, which will also impact the quality of delivery at every point in time. Project management structure. The role and responsibility defined and accepted. Project key roles include the project sponsor and the project manager. Those are the major key roles in the project. The project sponsor talks about the client. The project manager talks about the project manager himself, and the project team. They are all subsumed into the project manager's activity. The project brief, the project plan, the risk assessment of the project, and the project closure. Project barriers. There are things that you must make sure as the project progresses, you need to look at it. There are barriers that impact the project. One of the project barriers we have is misunderstanding. When you do not, once the people you are working with do not understand the project objectives, it becomes a problem. Then when you also have a problem with poor management, this is normally the problem with the project manager. If you are not able to manage the project itself, then it becomes an issue. But that should not be your own problem. You must never get to a point where the project is poorly managed. Poor communication. Communication is one of the key elements or the key tools of the project manager. You must be able to communicate regularly to the client. You must be able to communicate regularly to the project stakeholders. They must know exactly what's going on in the project at every point in time. And then you must inform stakeholders of progress of the project. Imagine you are giving a project to run, a project of like, let's say 500 million. And from the start of the project to the end of the project, you do not have any form of communication. It will be difficult for you to be able to get funds for the project if the client or the sponsor is not aware of the progress that is going on in the project. So it's something that you must, is a key aspect of the project, of project management, that you must not take for granted. Personality conflict. You must look at the project as supreme, delivery of the project as supreme at all times. Do not be carried away by whatever personnel or personal issues that you may have with anybody in the project. You must always be sure that the project remains the number one focus throughout the lifetime of the project. It's something that is very key for you to make sure that at every point in time, the project is always at the one burner, not your personal interest, not anybody's personal interest. It's always going to be the interest of the project. Disagreement, you must ensure you minimize disagreement. Disagreement may come during the project. However, you must minimize that disagreement. You must solve that disagreement quickly. One of the skills that we mentioned when we were talking initially is that for the project manager is conflict management skill. So this is where it comes into bear. You must manage disagreement. Goals and objectives not clearly defined. As a project manager, you must define all the goals and responsibilities and all the objectives of the project to everybody. If they must understand it, you must take your time to make sure they understand and they hear what you are saying. Bad weather, there's nothing you can do about that, but you can mitigate against it. You can plan around it so that you don't have issues of bad weather affecting your project. Ensure the following do not occur during the project. One, that the customer's expectation not being met. If the customer's expectation is not being met with the project, that means the project has failed. So it's something that you need to look at to be sure that at every point in time, the project, the customer's expectation is being met according to the project documentation, the contract that has been signed in the project. That you also exceed project budget. You must try as much as possible to work within the agreed budget in every project that you are managing as a project manager. Exceed the project timeline. Those two things, both budget and timeline, once you begin to exceed it, the client will never be happy. The customer will never be happy with you, and they will almost term the project as a failed project. So you must make sure that you, as much as possible, you manage timeline in the project. Using of inconsistent procedure and process. You cannot just wake up and go and forge one process. You will not go and make up and forge one procedure to do the project. Make sure the procedure, the process that needs to be used is acceptable by all the stakeholders to achieve the project, so that the project comes out as successful as is required. Significant amount of overtime, as much as possible when you are running any project. It is always good to avoid having so much overtime, because it wearies the workers and they will not come out at their. So it's only when it is necessary that you should probably plan to have those overtime. But as much as possible, you need to really avoid having overtime. Waste of time and resources, that's one of the things you need to avoid, because it's a result of poor management that you'll be having waste of time and resources in the project. Unforeseen external and internal events. When you do not do your risk management properly, you begin to have unforeseen internal and external events. But if you do your risk planning properly, you will be able to see what is required, and they are able to meet up with the eventual timeline on the project. Define project. Define a project. You break this into different parts. Define, phase, and the project input. Formation of the project team itself. The project manager is supposed to be able to form the project team. You need to document the customer's needs. What do the need of the customer? What are the needs of the customer? You need to document it, so that at the end of the day, everybody knows about the need and they're able to meet up. You only need to develop the project charter and then develop a process map for the project. You need to develop the process map for the project. Defining project objectives. The first step in undertaking a project is to define the goals and objectives. The steps required to achieve the goals and the objectives must be defined by the project manager. The project should describe the project outcome, and then must be smart. The objective must be smart, meaning that it must be specific, it must be measurable, it must be achievable, it must be realistic, and it must be time-bound. It must also be concise and clear, not too ambiguous. It must be clear and straightforward. The project must be accepted by the project stakeholders. The project objectives must be accepted by the stakeholders, because if they don't accept the project objective, there's no way you will be successful in the project. And also, you must be able to provide a defined description of the project itself, so that they are sure that you understand what the project outcome will be. When defining project objectives, separate the goals from the objectives. The goals are base statements, are broad statements of the project, while the goals are the what of the project. A project may have more than one goal, but several objectives per goal. Objectives are specific statements supporting the goal. The objectives is the how of the project process. consider the following when defining objectives: what and how, the time frame, the expected outcome, the criteria for achieving the expected outcome, and ways of measuring the expected outcome. Those are the things that you must define when you are doing the objective. Defining the project purpose. State the purpose of the project. Link the purpose to the organization goals and objectives. Define the project purpose. Defining the project purpose helps in predicting problems, also helps in proper planning and controlling of the project activities. All projects must be linked up with the project, with the company's purpose and goals. It's very important for you to note that it's always linked up with the project goals, with the company goals and purposes, so that whatever project you are doing, you are concise and straightforward. Develop project scope statement. This define the objectives and the deliverables of the project. Is developed by the project team. Its contents describe the scope of the project, acceptance criteria, deliverables of the project, the constraints that are associated with the project, and all the assumptions that the project may have. A project charter. A project charter is a formal short document that states a project exists and provides the project manager with a written authority to begin work. A project charter document describes a project to create a shared understanding of its goals, objectives, and resource requirements before the project scope is detailed out. A project charter is created in line with the business case of the project as described by the project sponsor, i.e., that is the person who is responsible for the project existence in the first place. That's the project sponsor. And it's a critical part of the initiation process at the start of the project. Now, the project charter is a document that helps you to define the business case, that makes you realize that this project is important and is an integral part of the project initiation phase. That is the document that lets you know that the project is going to be profitable, or if the project is going to be successful, or the project is going to be useful to the organization. Ultimately, the purpose of your project charter is to document the goals, the objectives, and the business case for the work itself. Once created, the project charter serves as a short contract between the project sponsor and the project manager, giving a top-level overview of the expectation and authorizing the project manager to mobilize resources to achieve the right outcome for the project. Plan project. Define the project scope. Involve determining a project specific goals, the tasks, the deliverables, the deadline and cost, and then the resources that will be associated with the project. It also clarifies project parameters and limitations. Every project has its own parameters and limitations, and then this at the time of defining the project scope, you need to state setting project duration. Estimate the duration of each work activity. Then also, you integrate all activities into a project schedule. Duration is set based on availability of resources. That is, you must discuss with the necessary resources when you are setting up the project itself, and the components to be considered in setting the duration. You need to look at the time for delays in the activities, in each activity's possible time of delay. Sometimes when you are running a project, there are some given things that will always delay the project, like public holidays, the activities of rain. So those things are things that you must put into consideration when you do your timing and your planning. The physical process is also one thing that you must look at. You also look at the work performed by people vis-a-vis the work performed by non-human resources. Then you look at the type of resources that is required. There are some activities that are better done by humans, and there are some activities that are faster done by non-human resources. You must be able to know them and plan for them accordingly. The work breakdown structure is it helps you to break down the work into the manageable sections and the acceptable tasks that needs to be done. The organization of the project work into manageable sections, different parts, where you're able to break it up. Then decomposing the work activities into smaller components. The work breakdown structure helps you to really understand the project and how it works, making complex projects more manageable. Also helps in development of the project schedule and budget, used in identifying the potential risks in the project. A work breakdown structure per se, if you want to build, let's say, a 3-bedroom bungalow now, at the initial stage when you hear a 3-bedroom bungalow, it may be very complex for you to run it. But when you begin to break it down into the work breakdown structure, you break it down into the different sections. Oh, you look at the masonry work, that's one part of it. Look at the plumbing work, that's one part of it. Look at the electrical work, that's one part of it. Look at the carpentry work, that's one part of it. Look at the aluminium work, that's one part of it. So by the time you first of all decompose the project into the different sections, then under those sections, you start breaking it down. When you are going into the masonry work, you look at the block setting, you look at the casting, you look at all the form work that needs to be done. So those are the things that help you to build up the work breakdown structure. You first of all decompose the project into the different aspects of the project, and then start building the work that is required to achieve those different parts of the project. The purpose of creating a work down structure is to help to assign roles and responsibilities. When you break it down into those structures, you're not able to assign the roles and responsibilities to the necessary people, the necessary experts that will be able to do the work, to be able to achieve that. And then you're able to estimate, it helps to accurately estimate the cost, the time, and the risks that is associated with the project. It also shows the project milestone and the control point. It helps to accurately organize the project itself, and then help with the proper explanation of the project scope to the stakeholders. If you do a proper work breakdown structure, you'll be able to explain the project scope to the stakeholders, and they will really have a buy-in into the project itself. Human resource planning involves the identification and documentation of the roles and responsibilities of the people that will be associated with the project, the reporting relationship for a project, and the staff management plan for the project. It also defines the process of acquiring the resources, the period each resources will be required, and the requirements for training where it is important. Now, human resource planning for projects is very important. You must be able to know when you require the resources. Like you're starting a project, you know that yes, you require the person that will do the roof, carpenter that will do the roof. But it will be foolishness for the foundation to be going on and you are getting the resource that will do the roof to come and resume on site. The man does not have any work to do. You will just be paying that resource for work he will not do. But if you just understand the timing of needing the resource, you know that at that initial time you need the mason comes and does his foundation work, the electrician comes, does his work, the plumber does his work and go, and the aluminum people come do their work and go, and then at the end of the day, you know exactly when to engage the resource to do the work in the project. The breakdown structure, the work breakdown structure will also help you to be able to identify these resources and also identify when they're required and when they are to be engaged during the project. Cost estimate serves as guideline in ensuring that funds available are sufficient to complete the project. Also helps to see whether the needed funds are available to support the project. Enables comprehension of anticipated benefits against the anticipated cost. Then also identify the project, identify if the project is viable. Cost estimate in project is very important. It's what we also call budgeting, which will help you know what the general project spend will be during the lifetime of the project. You need to prepare a cost estimate, normally done by the quantity surveyors, which will get the cost element, get the quantities, and then cost it accordingly. Once that is prepared, then the project sponsor will know if they are able to manage the project as it is from start to finish. If they're able to manage the project from start to finish in terms of cash flow, if they have the required cash flow to be able to run the project as is required. Then we also have what we call the different elements of cost in the project. You have the direct and indirect cost that is associated with the project. The direct cost is the team member's salary, the cost of materials and equipment to be, and all the supplies that is required for the project, and also the transportation cost for the materials and haulage to move materials into the site. While the indirect cost refers to the overhead cost, the administrative costs that are associated with the project, the back office costs that will be happening, the support, the internet infrastructure, the power that will the office, the administrative work that will be going on in the office. Those are the things that you need to look at this time of at that part of the project. It helps for you to understand the costing of the project and how to manage it properly. Manage and oversee projects. Develop project management plan. A document that outlines the project execution, control and monitoring. Also define the execution approach used to document all the assumptions made for the project planning, the facilitation of stakeholders' communication. Project management is the application of processes, methods, skills, knowledge, and experience to achieve specific project objectives according to the project accepted criteria within the agreed parameters. Project management has a final deliverable that are consistent to a defined time scale and budget. Now, it is very important for you as a project manager to be able to develop a project management plan every time you project. And that project management plan to actually break down what you need to do from start to finish. Know the project with the resources that will be required for the project. Know the costings that will be required for the project. Know the control measure that you need to put during the life cycle of the project to be able to manage all the resources, to be able to manage the workmen, to be able to manage every task, to be able to achieve what you are supposed to achieve, to give you the right quality that is being paid for. You cannot start the project and go and sleep. That's why you must have regular project meetings. You must have regular stakeholders engagement so that as the project is going on, you are also engaging with the project stakeholders. You are communicating with them to have their buy-in, to be sure that the project is meeting up with the requirements. Every project has stakeholders that are part of it. And every time you must engage with the stakeholders and help them understand the project as it progresses so that they understand what is going on. When it comes to time of funding, it will be easy for them to release funds for the project. A project management plan should be able to address the following. What is the problem addressed by the project? You should be able to know what the project is going to address when it is completed. What problem is it solving? If you are building a 3-bedroom bungalow, what are you solving with that project? Are you solving the issue of paying rent? Are you solving the issue of accommodation? Or you just want to build it for status? You want to build a 5-bedroom duplex, a mansion, and you want to do it for status. You have the money. It is now time for you to build a house in Lekki. It's now time for you to build in Banana Island, and you go ahead to do it. By the time you've completed the project, and the project does not meet up with your status that you're trying to do, it has failed. But immediately you finish it, and you are happy that yes, you have been able to join the big boys, and you are happy with the project. Yes, the project has been successful. It's been able to achieve that objective that you have set at the beginning of part of the project because you have seen a problem, you identify the problem, and you have provided a solution for the project, for the problem. What are the project deliverables? What are the things that the project is addressing, the deliverables? Then who will be involved in the project? What are the project team's responsibility? And what is a project timeline? Every project that you have said from the beginning has a start and a finish. It must be able to, you must run that circle of having a start point and an end point in a project. You start the project, you say, oh, the timeline for this project is a 6-month project. Within the next 6 months, you should be able to complete the project. Within the next 18 months, you should be able to complete the project. Within the next 2 years, you should be able to complete the project. And as you are monitoring the project as a project manager from start to finish, you are seeing the milestones being met. By the time you start in month 1, you see activities. Month 2, you see activities. Month 3, you see activities. Month 4, month 5. By the time you are getting to month 6, you should have a milestone. Oh, we are making progress. If we continue at this rate, we'll be able to meet our timeline. If we continue at this rate, we may not be able to meet up our timeline of 2 years. So we begin to make adjustments to see how things can be done faster, how things can be done better. And as you are doing that, that is crashing the program. And once you are crashing the program, you are making things run faster and better so that you can meet up with your timeline. You must always criticize your timing at every time of the project to see if the project is still working, is still in line with the agreed timeline that you have set at the beginning of the project. Within the project delivery team, the project manager is the one that leads the project team at every point in time. And you should learn how to do it without using so much authority. Because a project manager that is very authoritarian, at the end of the day, most of the team members will leave you alone and leave the project, and then the project will become a failure. You must have a way of addressing people diplomatically to be able to motivate them. You must have a full understanding of how to motivate the people to achieve success, to achieve the success that is associated with the project. It's not just for you to just come and be bullying everybody around. This is what you want, you must do it and do it. By the time you become so authoritarian, the project team will leave you alone and the project will fail. Essential ingredient for a successful project. One of the essential ingredients, you must ensure that the project team stays motivated. It's very important to know that the project team must be motivated at all times. They are in high spirits. Like that slogan that we used to say when we were in the youth service. Are you motivated? Motivated, motivated, motivated. That's why they are asking you must be motivated. You must be interested in the project at all times. You must be interested to ensure that the project succeeds at all times. It is important for you to know that the project will always succeed at every point in time. So you must be able to motivate everybody within the project to achieve success. One of the things you must also be able to do as a project manager, you must be able to increase the knowledge of each project team member. Make sure they are learning something every time. Even you yourself as a project manager, you must make sure you are learning. It's one of the things that can help you succeed in the project. When they know that they are learning, they are developing better skills and new skills, they will be more interested in the project because they know they are learning new things that will make them better in future projects. Also look for a way to increase each team member's ability to make decisions. There are some team members that will always be afraid to make decisions, but you must train them to be confident in themselves. While they are running the project, while they are working with you as a project manager, everybody must be developing. You'll be developing them in all aspects, that they are becoming better persons, they're able to make decisions. So that when you are not there, the work is going on and you are sure they are delivering the right quality, not working with high service. Every time when you come, that's when they'll be working. So that will make you a bad project manager. Trust, develop trust amongst the project team members. Do not use the divide and rule.
Yeah, excuse me, sir, sorry. Please, everyone, can we all see the slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I
we
just
can.
want to confirm that. All right, thank you.
Make sure that the team members are working as a team. Make sure they trust themselves. Don't use the divide and rule system in your project, because if you do that, you create a lot of bad blood among the team members. And when that happens, of course, you know it's going to affect the team members. The ability of each team member to effectively, quickly, clearly, and share information with one another is one of the most important elements of a successful project delivery. Not when the project team members know of something that's going to impact and affect the project and they keep quiet and they're waiting for you because you as a project manager, you're a very harsh person. They cannot communicate with you. Once that begins to happen, you know that the project is tending towards failure. But once you develop a good rapport with the team members, they will always let you know, okay, this is what is going on. Oh, we think you can do it better. We think we can do this like this and do that. And they'll be the ones supporting you. As the project manager, you must be friendly with the project team members so that they can trust you and you in turn trust them. Risk management. Like I said from the beginning, every project has risks associated with it. And for you as a project manager to be able to deliver a project successfully, you must be able to manage the risk that is associated with the project. Common risks in projects are unexpected reduction in the budget. When the project is going on, like what has happened in the economy that have affected the economy, and then the project budget is cut down. How do you manage to be sure and to help the project succeed? You must look for creative ways as the project manager to be able to manage the budget in such a manner that the project will become successful. The role and responsibilities not clearly defined. One of the things you must do is that you must define the role and responsibilities of every team member that is associated with the project, that they know exactly what they are doing, so there are no conflicts in their roles and responsibilities. Everyone that comes in, you let them know where they sit. You have the project organogram that defines the role of every worker, every team member in the project that is associated with the project, so that everybody understands what they are doing, so there's no room for confusion. Stakeholders, input not obtained. This is one of the most dangerous things to ever do to a project. If you not get the stakeholders' input at every point in time, that's why I've been hammering. Communicate with stakeholders regularly. Give them progress reports. Run meetings so that the stakeholders know exactly what is happening in their project. Communicate with them so that they know exactly what is going on. If not, if you don't obtain their buy-in on issues on the project, you will be on your own. You must always get the stakeholders' input at every level of the project. Communicate with them, let them know what's going on. Ask them if they like what is going on. Ask them if the project is working, is meeting what they want, and they are going to, and how the project is going to affect them. Make them excited. If it's a building project, make sure that they visit the site. Make sure they send representatives to come and watch the project and see what is going on in the project. It is very important that they are always part of the project. And then one of the risks you must have, having slow customer feedback and review. Once you have the client giving you, or the stakeholders giving you comments, and then you take it and you're not responding to them, that is a very dangerous place to be. You must ensure that you give them regular feedback. Once there's a problem, you address it and you feed them back. This problem you have identified, this problem has been solved, this is the result. You must communicate with them at all times to avoid unnecessary breakdown of communication within the project. Stakeholders making adjustments to the project requirements is a very serious risk. When the stakeholders come and they are making adjustments, you must be ready to accommodate this adjustment that they are making. And then not just accommodate the adjustment, you must communicate the implication of the changes they are bringing to the project to the stakeholders, so that they are aware of whatever decision they are taking as the project progresses. If it's going to affect the project timeline, let them know. If it's going to affect the project cost, let them know. If it's going to affect the quality, let them know. If they're increasing the scope, let them know that this is the scope that was agreed initially. This is the new scope that you said. Make sure they clearly understand, both you as a project manager, the stakeholders understand, and then the team members also understand, the contractor understands his role and what needs to be done. Poor communication. One of the things you must avoid in your project is poor communication. Like I've been saying, you must always communicate and communicate again. Communicate all the time. You cannot communicate enough, either by physical meetings or sending emails, updates. You must keep doing that. You must have a schedule, either weekly or bi-weekly or once in a month. You must make sure that you have a schedule that you communicate with every single time, not just the stakeholders, also communicate with your team members so that your team members understand their impact on the project. You must also avoid having very optimistic cost and time estimations in the project. You are now that will affect your credibility as a project manager. It's a risk. When the client comes, oh, this work, we want it done within the next 2 weeks. And you know that 2 weeks is probably possible, but if you allow that 2 weeks because of the factor of time and the weather and all that, it may not be visible. You let the client know that, these 2 weeks that you are saying we must do, yes, it's achievable, but these are the demerits. So that they give allowance for whatever issues that may arise during this part of the project. And also timeline, cost. You say, oh, buy it at this, this thing is going to cost so and so. You are not going to the market to go and check. You don't know that inflation has been affecting things. You are not abreast with the current cost of material and you are giving estimation. That's the dangerous place to be, because there will be cost overrun and the client will not be happy. Stakeholders need to fully understand. Stakeholders need not fully understood. You know, if you do not understand the needs of the stakeholders, how do you satisfy it? So if you do not understand what they are communicating to you, please meet them, let them explain to you, and so that you have a full understanding. Stakeholders adding new requirements is also a risk that you need to avoid. The time is 6 o'clock, so we'll take a short 10 minutes break at this time, and then when we come back, we'll continue on risk management. Thank you very much. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right. Okay, can we continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we are under risk management. Steps to managing project risks. Hope you can see my screen, please.
Yes, sir. The screen is clear.
Steps to managing project risk. Risk management should be part of the project plan. One of the things you must note that risk management must be part of the project plan. Early identification of risks in the project is very important. Risks should be communicated to all parties involved. Put precautionary measures in place. Consider and review identifying risks, threats, and opportunities. Once you are sure you have been able to identify the risks that are associated with the project, make sure you communicate it to all stakeholders so that they are aware. And then one of the things we normally do is to assign risk owners. Assign risk owners, prioritize risks. Risks should be closely analyzed. Every time you must analyze the risks to see how it impacts the project, plan and implement the response to risks. A risk register is kept where all the risks are documented and then everybody is aware and they're able to manage that. Planning versus progress monitoring. Now, this involves monitoring and tracking of the progress of work, of the progress of the project, helps to identify variance in the project baseline. Project baseline is that if you have done your program of work, you have said, oh, the project is going to span for 18 months. Now, you now break that 18 months into different months. By month A, you should be able to have done this by month B, by month C, by month B. So those are the baselines that you check. And at the time you are doing the project is live, you now be cross-checking every point. By the time you are in month one, you check, oh, the plan work that we are supposed to do in month one, have we done it? If the answer is yes, you mark it correct. If the answer is no, that means you need to look for how to save time or to gain time. So that's one of the things you must do when you are monitoring. Also help keep the project within scope, budget, and on time. Helps in identifying when there is a significant deviation in the project. Then you know if there is a deviation from the project. So monitoring the project is very important. We also provide early indications of when there is problem with the project activity coordination, cost overrun, and resource conflicts. Steps to monitoring project plan. Create a baseline, like I've mentioned. Communicate this baseline so that when people are living or working against the baseline, they already know what they are doing and they know how to get back to it. Project budget management. A project budget provides an understanding of how funds should be utilized and expended for a project. A work breakdown structure is the basis for project budget. You must understand the work breakdown structure, know the exact work that needs, and then the budget that you create will be associated with it, then you know how to manage it. So be sure that the project is within the agreed time. And so that everybody is able to manage the project as well when it comes up. Then also, a project budget can be properly maintained through continuous budget forecast, regular forecast of resource usage, and proper scope management, keeping the team informed at all times. You must be able to forecast. See, oh, if we have spent some million, 10 million for the project at this time, then you are projecting that in the next 2 months we'll be spending like 3 million. So as the project is going on, the stakeholders are planning to make funds available so that the project does not stop. Every time you must be ready to make the necessary forecast in order to ensure that the project goes on as planned. Project closing. Closing a project is also a very important part of the project life cycle. and the project manager needs to also watch it. You can run a project from start, and by the time you are getting to the finish point, if closing the project properly, it becomes an issue. So it is important that the project is properly managed, especially at the closing part of the project. One of the things you must ensure you do is that you have the client sign off on completion. The client must sign off on completion of the project at every point in time. The client sign off on the work completion certificate after the project obtained outcome has been measured against the criteria of acceptance. Also, the work completion certificate, the record information such as any other comment about the project, success criteria of the project, the key metrics to be tracked, and high-level lessons learned from the project. Project analysis. As the project is coming to a close, you need to analyze it to see if the process of determining the real situation of the project. It helps to find whether the project is operated properly or otherwise. After the project has been completed, confirm whether the project has become successful to achieving its objectives. Identify and resolve any issue that may arise during the project operation. Evaluate the project's success or failure. Also determine if the expected objectives were successfully achieved. The following are reviewed at the project analysis stage. 1, achievement of the project objective. One of the things that you must review, as the project achieved its objectives, where it was started in the first place, proper utilization of resources, where the resources used properly, saving of resources, were you able to save during the project, and the usefulness of the decisions that were taken during the project, and service delivery. Were you able to deliver the service, or every aspect of the project? Were they able to deliver the service very well? Everybody needs to know that the project has met its own the project criteria. Project commissioning and handover involves checking, inspecting, and testing all the things that have been done in the project. Everything has been supplied. You must test, inspect, and be sure that they are working properly. Applicable to all phases of the project, the objective of commissioning is to ensure a safe and orderly handover of the project. Also guarantees the project operability in terms of safety and safety performance and reliability. During the project closure, we expect that if you have what we call the project file, index project file. It helps to establish a project filing structure for the project at the startup. The filing system, it depends on the project. The type of filing system depends on the project. For large projects, you need matrix system. For small projects, you just need a simple file to be able to file all the correspondence and everything that happened within the project. A file number system may be required for a large project, and it is advisable that files are kept both manually and electronically. The following files should be kept for a project. When the project is on, we must keep these files. One, the contract file, which documents the contract to every contractor that is working in the project. You have the correspondence file that documents letters that goes, the communication that goes to and through the project. Administrative file that documents the administrative activities during the project. Technical file is the one that documents all the technical documentation in the project. We also have the quality management which takes for all the quality control systems that you have during the project and file all the documents as required. Then the construction support file that mentions the activities, the construction activities, and all the instructions that were given during the project. Those files are necessary for the project to be closed properly and for you to have a proper history of the project by the time the project is completed. Then finally, you have what we call the lessons learned, documentation of the lessons learned. The lessons learned are experiences gained from the execution of the project. Lessons learned should be identified and documented at the close of the project. Every project has lessons that you will learn. As a project manager, we often ask that you open a lessons learned register. So at the end of the project, all the lessons that you have learned throughout the project, you document it properly, and then you are able to have that history covered. Thank you very much for your time. We'll just take our questions at this time. So if you have any questions, you can indicate by raising your hand, and we'll be able to answer the questions. Thank you. Please, if you have any questions, you can raise up your hand and just indicate by raising your hand, and then we'll be able to answer. Miracle, are you there? Miracle.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, please, let's take our questions now from the students.
Okay. Please, does anyone have a question? Okay, you can go on with your question, please.
Please, you can go on with your question. Unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, Abby?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay, so actually, I missed out of the class, so I want to like understand this. What are the methodologies that we use in facility management projects? Like I know normally in project management there are two methods, as in the traditional method and the agile method. So which of the method do we use here? Because most of the things you explain are basically, in terms of documentation, like I've seen, are basically the traditional method.
Yes, like this is actually facility project management. We expect that as facility managers, you'll be running just small projects, and you should be able to document them properly when you're running the project. It doesn't need to be very elaborate, because you may not exactly have that opportunity because you are managing an existing building. You are not managing a new building. The new building is what has all the other methods, but this is just a straight line, simple application that will help you to manage the project from start to finish.
All right. Thank you. Please, another question, please. Okay, my second question is as in, how do you detect risks? What are the procedures of detecting risks, and how do you mitigate them?
Risks. Well, normally that every project, you need to sit down and then criticize the project. Once you sit down and criticize the project, you will know the risk that is associated with the project. You know the different aspects that impact. The risk may not be very big. Let's say, okay, for example, damage and then you want to associated with that project. Look at how that door, general area,
Your voice is breaking.
if that door is left open, will it cause any security? I don't know. I don't know if you can.
Can you come again, sir?
I gave an example that if you have a damaged door in your facility that you want to change, you look at how does that door impact the facility. If the door is removed for you to change it, if the place is left open, will it impact the facility negatively or positively? Will it expose the facility to armory attack and all that? If the answer is yes, that is a risk that you need to also work against and make sure you when you are running the project. I don't know if you understand.
All right.
But that's just an example of how you look at it. So you can do whatever you can. You just have to criticize the work that you are doing and see how the work is impacted by external and internal forces. Thank you. Gift. I saw your hand up. You can ask your question. Gift, you can unmute yourself now and ask your question. Okay, I'm not sure. Gift.
All right. Thank you, sir. Please, I'm sorry. I'm trying to unmute myself.
Yeah,
Can you hear
ahead.
me, sir?
I can hear you, sir.
So, how do you balance project deliveries among the little teams you are working with? For example, now you have a team of 3, and you are trying to deliver a mini project as a facility manager, and you have your time schedule and you have your budget. And in the team of 3, you have different tasks for these 3 team members. And let's assume that 1 has delivered and 2 has not delivered. And basically in a team, in terms of project delivery, if 1 fails, probably the entire project has failed. I don't know if I'm wrong. So, and in that process, how would you balance such situation in order to achieve maximum results in project deliveries?
Okay, I understand your question very well. You have a team member, you have 3 team members, and you're working on the project, and 2 are lagging behind, 1 is ahead. What you need to do, like I mentioned during the time of lecture, is you need to be able to motivate the other 2 to be able to meet the timeline. We try as much as possible to motivate them to achieve the result that you want. You need to know how to do that. That's a skill that you need to develop to push them to deliver what is required at that time. You cannot just leave them their own, because it is you that is monitoring the whole work that is going on, and you as the project manager take responsibility for whatever deliverable that is gotten. Once it is delivered in good time, the success comes to you. Once it's not delivered in good time, it also impacts you. So you must be able to motivate them, explain to them, and then make sure they understand the importance of having the project delivered on time and on schedule. That activity should happen at the beginning of the project and also as the project is going on. So you must be able to motivate them at every point in time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. It's very clear. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Henry, your hand is up, so yeah, you can unmute yourself and
Okay. Thank you, sir. I just want to make a little contribution to what the question he asked,
go ahead.
because I've had that experience before. In a situation whereby in a team of 3 and 1 is not actually doing well, if it has to do with a professional tax, and within the 3, 1 is very good at it, you can actually withdraw 1 to focus on that particular assignment or task. But if none of them has that experience, you can always do outsourcing. You can outsource that particular project for it to be very successful. You can just do outsourcing just to get it done and engage them in other things that they can do successfully.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Adin. All right. Any other question? Okay, if there's no other question, I want to thank you very much for your time this evening. I'm sure we'll have another class on Monday evening. Do have a good evening and God bless you for your time.
All right, thank
so
you.
much.
And you.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much,
you,
sir.
All right,
Thank you
thank you,
very
Coach.
much, everyone.
All right, thank
And I
you.
hope
We are
you all
good.
had a good learning experience.
Sure, I did.
Yes, please.
Okay. So please, I want to remind all of us to remember to fill our feedback survey on each topics that we've taken.
All right.
Okay, okay, ma.
All right.
All
Thank
right,
you
thank
very
you,
much,
ma.
everyone. Do have a nice day.
You too.
And you too, ma.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Oh my God. What is wrong with this?